Welcome to another Wayflyer Founders Series. My name's Paul Waddy. I'm a strategic advisor at Wayflyer. I'm also the author of Shopify for Dummies and Selling Online for Dummies. And I'm an advisor to some of Australia's best-known e-commerce businesses. I'm really excited about today's guest. We've got Ami Bateman, the CEO and co-founder of Pleasant State. Ami, welcome to the Wayflyer Founders Series.
Thanks, Paul. Very happy to be here.
Yes, well, I'm very excited because I've had a bit of a poke around the site and the business, and it looks pretty special. So I'm keen to unpack everything Pleasant State. But I always like to ask Ami if you could tell me your backstory. Most people in e-commerce, have a backstory because it's not a very old industry. So some of our guests have been real estate agents, others have been, all sorts of things. I was a trade union official way back when. So, Ami, what's your backstory and how did you find your way to co-founding Pleasant State?
Yeah, I'll try to keep this as brief as possible, but it's quite varied. So I still say I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I have a commerce degree and an MBA. Before launching Pleasant State, I worked for corporate Australia in a number of roles across HR, marketing, sustainability, health and safety, risk. I left Ernst & Young. I was in a senior role there and just decided to take a risk and join a technology startup and I implemented their technology at McDonald's, IAG and NAB. So it was a health and safety compliance software. I then took that software and sold that back into Ernst & Young. So that was my first real business. Did that over a couple of years. And then around the time I had the idea for Pleasant State, I was actually suffering from debilitating headaches on a daily basis. And I had to go through a process of eradicating toxins and plastics from my home. And cleaning products are actually a really huge contributor to indoor air pollution. Most of us are not aware of the impact it's having on our lives, but it's really significant. When I tried to find solutions in the cleaning space, there was nothing that met my requirements around no nasties, nothing that was plastic free, and definitely nothing that was really beautiful and met my design aesthetic. So failing to find anything here or anything that I could import, I just decided, well, given my background and ability to kind of deliver big projects, solve really complex problems, thought I'll bring a team together. I'm going to go make this and hopefully make it in Australia and build a purpose-led business at the same time. I thought to myself, it can't be that hard. So I cracked on. It's definitely been hard, but we did it.
I'm just browsing the site. It's great, and you actually have made these products look great and in a really nice editorial kind of way. And the About Us page is fantastic because it opens up with the line, "If not us, then who?" And I guess that's exactly it, isn't it? If you want the change, you have to be the change. And you've thrown yourself into that wholeheartedly by the look of it.
Yeah, definitely. After working in big business for a very long time and even consulting on sustainability, I guess I always felt that business really could do more. I felt that people often started off with the best of intentions, but as they grew and got bigger, perverse incentives would distract business from what they were really there to do, which is to add value to stakeholders. So I guess my thesis with Pleasant State is that if you build an ethical business from the ground up, that as you grow, you can maintain those really fundamental values and prove that balancing people, planet, and profit is definitely achievable.
Absolutely. And when did you and your co-founder actually start the business?
We incorporated our business in February of 2020. We did lots of market research and built our brand and then launched that in June of 2020. So really taking this lean startup approach where we told the world we're coming while we were building the products. And then after we launched our brand, we ran a Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign. So we ran that from August until December of that year. And that was really to fund the first lot of our glass and silicon bottles. We had to order 20,000 units so we could get really beautiful custom bottles. So we had 1,500 backers and we raised just over $87,000. And then we shipped out our first lot of products, about, I think it was 2,500 of our cleaning kits. in March of 2021. So we're still fairly young, I would say.
You are, but was there a fair bit that went into the product R&D phase? Were you working on that for a while?
Yes, definitely. I think, yeah, at the time I had the idea for Pleasant State. I had no idea how to go about this. I almost failed chemistry. The first call I made was to a compound pharmacist.
Yeah.
Who was a friend, and I said, I think you're not the right chemist, but maybe you have some tips. She did.
Yeah.
I didn't really listen to her. She one of her pieces of advice was to make sure there was a manufacturing process, so that, you know, whatever we designed, we could easily find a manufacturer. For some reason, I was led astray by the chemist I eventually found. So no manufacturing process actually existed for what we ended up formulating. Wow. So a new manufacturing business had to be established. So that was a whole other thing that was happening sort of between, when did that happen? A new manufacturing business had to set up between September and March when we shipped out, which was fascinating and stressful. But yeah, in terms of the product, we were the first in Australia to make a product in this form, in bar form, that met really high standards around efficacy. So it had to work. And that's often a criticism in this space, that the products don't work as well as what you can purchase from the supermarket. It had to meet no nasty requirements, so no carcinogens, allergens, sensitizers, had to be vegan and cruelty-free. It had to be derived from plant-based ingredients. So I had extremely high standards for what it had to do. And so, yeah, our chemist, he definitely had a big challenge ahead of him. And in fact, we were featured on a national TV program called House of Wellness last year. And he'd never said it to me, but he admitted, you know, in front of camera, that it was the hardest project he'd ever worked on. Because when I first came to him, he didn't think I was really serious about a lot of this stuff. But quickly he realized, yeah, we weren't going to compromise.
I love it. And something that stands out for me that you said a little earlier is when I'm working with an online business these days, a lot of people get lost in the noise around marketing and so on and lose sight of the product. And I always ask businesses that I work with, what problem does your product solve? And when you were thinking about starting your business, what did you go to bed dreaming about? And you touched on that straight away, which is you had headaches, you were eliminating toxins, and here's your product as a result of that.
Yes, yeah, and then I also feel Pleasant State is much more than a product, though. We really are trying to build a brand, and a purpose-led one that provides like hope and is optimistic, so we can demonstrate to people that you actually can make a difference by just making really small changes and being thoughtful in terms of what you consume. That all really adds up to have a really big influence in the world. And then challenging people to kind of ask other brands and businesses to do the same.
So, Amy, if people are listening to this, why should they choose Pleasant State? You have so many great points on your product description, which is amazing. But who are you appealing to?
Yeah, we're appealing to what we call the conscious consumer. So these are people who really care about making a difference in their purchasing choices. They care about their health, they care about the environment, and they also care about social issues. And our research indicated that that's at least 25% of the Australian population. So it's not an insignificant number. So they are socially and environmentally progressive. They're still predominantly female. So women are still, they're still doing the bulk of purchasing for the home. And they still are doing the bulk of the cleaning. That's definitely not true in my house. That's not true in the house of my, nor my co-founder. And actually, we have a couple of other shareholders, one that's a man, and he also does the cleaning. So I think men, they don't really talk about it, but they're actually big cleaners. And they're also people who care about design and really, again, thoughtful in what they purchase, and everything that they purchase is kind of an extension of themselves, and they purchase it so that they can sort of live their best life.
Yeah, fantastic. And your social feed is pretty I would say pretty elegant for a cleaning product. Is that something you put a lot into?
Yes, and I can thank Sean Murray, my co-founder, for that. Yeah, again, the intention is to try and change this relationship with cleaning. In the areas of beauty and food, people have really started to think about what they're consuming or what they're putting on their bodies. And as a result, you've seen lots of disruption in those sectors or categories. Cleaning is a sector that people just have not thought about. They're dirty, they smell bad, you hide them under your sink. And so in making our products really beautiful and engaging, we are really trying to change that relationship. So it's something that's more fun and mindful. So yes,
great.
it's deliberate.
Yeah, well done. And tell us about the Pleasant State is certified B Corp. Congratulations, that's no small feat. Tell us about that process. How was it? You seem to be quite young to have established in 2020. That can take a while. How was that?
Yeah, so again, my background, one of the many jobs I had was in sustainability. So I actually have 15 years of experience in sustainability in some way, shape or form. So one of my roles was actually doing the sustainability reporting for a big corporate, and then I audited sustainability reports. So I was familiar with B Corp. I'm a real nerd, so I love frameworks. And so when I was building Pleasant State, I was really looking for what's the best framework that I think is out there to ensure that we have a really ethical foundation for our business. And I do think, and I still think B Corp's the best model. So before, at the same time we're building product and we're building brand, as also building the business framework and foundation. And that I looked to B Corp. I went through the B impact assessment. I just said, yes, we want to hit the highest levels in all of these categories. And that just became how we did business. And so I knew that by the time it came to actually doing the certification, for us, it was purely about documenting what we'd already done and going through that audit process. I probably was overconfident going into it, thinking, oh, this is going to be so easy for me. I've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, in a really positive way, it is a really tricky process. Like, they do have really high standards around environmental, social governance, and they audit a lot. So it's not for the faint-hearted. And I think it really does weed out the people who are genuine about purpose versus those who are just kind of retrofitting and trying to greenwash.
Yeah, great advice. And I want to picture some, there's plenty of people around there who, most businesses that I deal with have sustainability in some form on their project board, but you're exactly right. There's a lot of greenwashing that's occurring, and you've kind of got to throw yourself into it. From your point of view, again, thinking of a brand that might be listening who has, say, let's say they haven't quite thrown themselves into the sustainable area yet. Maybe they've started with some eco-friendly packaging or something like that. How important is it? We know how important it is for the environment. How important is it in consumer behavior at the moment and dictating where they'll spend their money? Do you see that starting to change?
Oh, massively. Again, as I said, yeah, I've been in this space for 15 years. And even back then, I think it was something that companies were doing for a competitive advantage, or the shareholders were starting to demand it. But it was something that, as companies needed to cut cost, they could quite easily slash the sustainability budgets, because it really was very much a bolt-on. In the last, I think it's come about because of COVID, as people have really stopped to reflect on their life and the environment and the impact that we're having, and I guess what our legacy is going to be. The momentum around sustainability has ramped up like massively. It seems it's really core. Any awards that we enter, sustainability is, it's really embedded in all of those awards. You're not going to even get a look in. The consumers that we target, they are sort of, younger generations. They're looking for companies that have this purpose angle and sustainability built in, and they're making decisions with their pockets or their wallets. And I do think that's just going to increasingly become the case. And they're also willing to pay more for products and businesses that they really believe in and that are aligned with their values. So my personal view is that if it's not built in and it's not core, I do think businesses are really going to struggle in the future to compete.
Yeah, great advice. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the e-commerce side of things. So you've got a great brand, you've got a great product that's very clear in solving a problem. How have you found sort of transitioning into e-commerce? And it's been you've started at a very interesting time, actually, 2020. It's sort of been a little bit unusual since then, and then it's sort of settled a little bit back to where it was. But how are you enjoying that sort of ride?
Yeah, very interesting. It's been very interesting of late as well. I think, when we first launched, I do think we're probably right at the beginning of where e-commerce was really taking off, because we decided to really go hard with Pleasant State as we went into lockdown, because I was like, yes, this is the time, this is the opportunity. We did our research around that time, which demonstrated that people were going to purchase online more, and there was a sense that that sort of trend would persist. And we couldn't necessarily get in front of our customers. So being able to sell online, build our brand, connect with our customer online was a massive advantage. I, again, don't have an e-commerce background. 3 of our initial founders didn't. We have one founder who did. So she was really instrumental in those beginning months. I think the landscape has changed a lot of late, particularly with the iOS changes around paid media. So Facebook and Instagram, we've really struggled to get them working effectively. So we've had to go back. We've always, I guess, had sort of traditional integrated marketing strategies, but we're really having to pull on other levers at the moment. And I think it's, as a team, we've stopped and reflected and realized, actually, while we've perfected our product and we have a really great brand and our customer relationships are strong, we've probably been a bit lazy in becoming e-com experts. And so as a team for this next 3 months, that's a really core focus of ours, is back to e-commerce fundamentals. What are the metrics? How do we make them work for us? How are we going to perform in this area? Because I think that's what's going to make sure we kind of get through this really interesting next phase.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that. A lot of the really good brands that are out there, or e-commerce businesses, are started by great brand people or great product people, and then it's connecting that to become as good at e-commerce as you are at brand, and it's quite a fun experience. The shop, the online store is built on Shopify.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, so, given that, and this is a shameless plug for my book, but given that I wrote Shopify for Dummies, I always ask this question, Amy. This is a question without notice. Do you have a favorite Shopify app, or it could be an integration? It could be just something that plugs into Shopify.
Oh, yeah, we use quite a few, actually. I would have said one until recently. Been having a few problems with that. I'm not going to say that. This is real. I feel bad because I did have one. Look, I still think it's good. I actually think the issues are around some stuff that's going on with subscription, but it's our shipping integration. Okay. So we use an app called Edition, which just plugs directly in with AusPost, and I found them to be really amazing. And that's just ensured that our whole shipping process is really efficient. We've been playing with some really interesting analytics kind of apps. Again, part of that realization that we're not e-commerce experts, and we really should be. We're starting to really get into the data and trying to see what's going to serve us well, how we're going to get really strong insights into our customers so we can start to customize and personalize their experiences.
I love it. And I can't help but think one of the key metrics for Pleasant State is likely to be lifetime value, because I would imagine it's a very loyal customer, and you do have a subscription element. So I can't help but be excited when I see businesses like yours who are absolutely geared towards loyalty and retention. I imagine it's a pretty loyal tribe of customers and reading your reviews, they look like they're pretty happy as well.
Yes, and you're right. I think, to be completely frank, until recently, lifetime value wasn't even something we were looking into until you know, I think because the landscape has changed and we need to become better at how we manage our e-com store, lifetime value has become like a massive focus. And so we're starting to explore, what does that really mean for a consumer product versus SaaS? Because SaaS has a very different idea about lifetime value. There seems to be a lot more material coming out about what's good for an e-commerce store. I don't know. You are definitely the expert, but we're like
3 times AOV is the target.
3 times over what period?
Well, the lifetime is typically the lifetime is calculated at a store level, so everyone's lifetime is different. But each store has a different lapse point. So the lifetime for one could actually be as low as 60 days, whereas for another it could be 2 years. But in the absence of knowing that lapse point, you just pick 2 years.
Okay, so 3 times. So is it 3 times AOV over 2 years?
Well, 3 times AOV in the average life cycle of a Pleasant State customer.
Okay.
But you can use 2 years. You can use 12 months. If you don't know that average life cycle, you can pick a 12 months or 2 years, whatever you think is a more reasonable target for the turnover of your product. Yeah. But if you were to plug in an analytics tool like a Lifetimely, which is a good app actually, or Glue, I'm a big Glue guy, and those will calculate your lifetime value. If you plug any of those in and it's going at 3 times your AOV, you're absolutely flying. If it's let's say 1.2 to 1.5 times your AOV, it means that the either something wrong with the product or the CRM strategy is possibly not kicking in. But I would hazard a guess that you would be over the 2 mark. That's my guess. Because it looks absolutely geared towards customer retention, because you can see, so you've got 4.9 stars on your reviews. There's a lot of reviews. You're operating in a very loyal space. I think it's a good price point, and it's I'm going into ecom now, but I'm excited because I think it's lifetime. Well, paid media is getting more expensive, so the cost of acquiring a customer is just getting horrendous. So then the emphasis becomes on retention. And what I'm excited, well, again, I'm just going to dive into what I think of your business now. What excites me about it is lifetime value is not driven by email marketing or SMS marketing. It's driven by product. And so the mind boggles at what Pleasant State could do when you sort of say, well, we've got this. Now, what's the next logical? I want to wash my dog in this, like I want to, and then I've got to bath the kids in the, and I get very excited when I see people like you who have started a business where you can move from the living room to the bathroom to the nursery to that, so I think it's a absolute winner that you're on. It looks fantastic.
Thank you.
I totally hijacked this conversation with value.
I'm taking notes like badly. Yeah, I came across another group. They're promoting this idea of increasing your lifetime value by 30% in 90 days and 100% within 1 year on the initial purchase price. So that's another model that I've seen recently. So, but thank you. I like this other 3
It's almost impossible AOV to do that. I always get very nervous about people that do that because it's product that drives it. So if anyone says, I can double your lifetime value, the only way that would be possible, Amy, is if you had no email marketing. Like you were obviously not doing something, but then how could they possibly know that you even have a product that is suitable for a repurchase? How could they know how often the bottle depletes? So it's all about, and for instance, Klaviyo is a great email platform because it'll learn your consumer and when that last pump of the bottle is, and it will send them the email like a day before. That's all great stuff. But I think you're in a great spot because I think your product could just expand into all sorts of new areas, and that is absolutely it's like last example I'll give you. But the great LTV space is a newborn baby. So they've got the what do you call those things? The Snuggie thing, or they wrap them up, and then they're a bit big for that. But then you get them the dummy, and then the bottle, and then they're getting ready for daycare. So the brand gets them the backpack and the lunch, and you are just following through the natural life cycle. That's LTV, not marketing really. But that's cool. What have you found are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced in creating a really sustainable brand, product, and online business?
Yes, we'll obviously touch on this a little bit more, but definitely capital and money, particularly because we do have these glass and silicon bottles, and we have to order them in fairly for a startup is high order volumes.
Yeah.
So every time our bottles land, we have a really high need for capital. So that's one really big area. Another is, we've got a really novel product. We were the first to launch here direct to consumer. We formulated it, we manufactured it. So we continue to have to do little tweaks, or we find out things about the ingredients. Supply chain issues, that has been a really big one. The cost of containers and shipping in containers, because our bottles, they come from overseas, that just skyrocketed at one point. The other will be just, I think, navigating this next 6 to sort of 12 months as we're starting to see consumer confidence decline. So how, as a premium kind of product, do we ensure we can get through this period in a really healthy way?
Yeah, I mean, that's great, and particularly the issue of loading up on inventory due to high minimums is something that is a barrier for a lot of businesses to start, and then it's sort of knowing how many bottles is too many to load up on, and it's probably you need too many at the start, and then that opens up the questions about having other channels, marketplaces to keep moving through the inventory. But you did touch on something that's important here, and that's funding and how we fund those. And you've come across Wayflyer, and we're obviously talking here on the Wayflyer Founders Series. Can you tell me a little bit about the role that Wayflyer has played in Pleasant State, and maybe with how you've been able to use the funding?
Yeah, most definitely. So to date, Pleasant State has been funded by bootstrapping. We've also done crowdfunding, which is often through pre-order. So anything where we can sort of bring cash forward to fund inventory or marketing activities. And then, when I was looking for alternative funding, we couldn't get money from the bank. So we're too early stage, we're too risky. So the banks weren't going to give us a look in. And so, came across Wayflyer. I think Wayflyer reached out to me, which was really lovely. And they were amazing. The team that reached out at Wayflyer were really incredible, and just, had a lot of knowledge about our business and our challenges. And so they presented another sort of funding model, which, would give us money as required to fund inventory or marketing activities, and could plugs in really easily to our Shopify store to give us offers. And then I found Wayflyer to be really fantastic in terms of being able to negotiate what it looks like in terms of the upfront rate that we pay, combined with the percentage of daily sales that they take. So of all the other providers, their flexibility in working with us to shape something that works for us at that time has been really fantastic.
Yeah, so and it's that revenue-based finance model where your payments are sort of every day based on your sales, right? So if your sales scale up, then your payments scale up. But on the flip side, if you have a slow sales day, then your repayments slow down, don't they?
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
And what we would almost definitely have some online retailers watching this today, and you went down a couple of paths as well. I think you mentioned earlier you did an Indiegogo crowdfunding, and you didn't have much luck with the banks and so on. We've had other guests on who have gone down the private equity route. We actually had a gentleman on who's was on Shark Tank, and also knowing your background, actually, what's some advice you would have for online retailers who are looking at all of the funding models out there? I mean, the last couple of years was a big push into private equity, but that's not always as it seems as well. So what advice would you have regarding financing an e-com business generally?
Yeah, this is a really interesting topic. I have lots of thoughts on this, particularly as a female founder. Mm-hmm. So I think we actually started going down the path of looking for external capital, even through VC. And I think, all the feedback is that we have this amazing brand. We're definitely raising revenue. Our backgrounds are all amazing, but for some reason we still can't get that across the line. And this is an area that I've been interested in for a long time. In fact, I wrote a paper on it during my MBA around female accessing capital, and particularly VC. And a new report came out by SBE the other week, which showed 99.3% of the 10 billion VC in Australia last year went to male-founded businesses.
Wow, that's incredible.
99.3%. So 0.7% went to the 22% of female-founded businesses. And that's just gotten worse in the last 10 years. So when I wrote my paper, 4% of VC globally went to female-founded businesses. Last year, 2.3% went to female-founded businesses. So it's getting worse. The system, the VC sort of system, is really geared to tech startups and male founders. And, basically just, going out there and making these claims about the business being really huge, which isn't, again, the way women tend to operate business. We're far more realistic. And that's not geared to VC. So if you're a female founder or a founder in consumer product space, you definitely have to, I would highly recommend you're funding your business quite differently. We did have some capital behind us when we started. I had another business, we had savings, so we put that in. As shareholders, we continue to invest in the business. Female founders in particular through crowdfunding tend to actually perform better than male founders. So 25% better, in fact, mainly because they build communities, that women are really good at building communities around them. I have heard some horror stories about equity crowdfunding. So there can be bad debts. I think I heard of one sort of 30 to 40% bad debt. So you'll still get charged a fee by the platform, but you can't actually get 30 to 40% of the money because it's bad. Right? Yes, I did. I heard a horror story about that. So that's something to just keep in mind. So I think you have to be really creative about how you get money, and this revenue-based finance models like what Wayflyer offer is a really good option for businesses. And actually, my experience with Wayflyer when I went through the process was awesome. It was actually when I had the finance meeting. I was quite nervous. I think it was my first meeting where I was going to have people ask me hard questions about financing. And it was two women were on the call having the chat with me. And again, I work with a lot of men. I've got a lot of amazing men in my team, but being able to have conversations about money with women where there's no bias was a really positive experience for me.
I mean, that's some great learnings. And I think, shout out to you guys for also just being bootstrappers, which is something that's, grinded my gears a little bit over the last year or two, is that the amount of congrats, we raised such and such and such at such and such a valuation. Oh, but we're losing, And the definition of success became which PE firm or VC firm invested in you and how much your valuation was. And I was like, when did that become the end goal? And it actually feels like the end goal. And I think it actually practices a lot of bad habits, because some of the funding deals being done on non-profitable companies that are just sexy tech or whatever it might be. And then those businesses go away and make no money and get passed around the VC companies for years or end up folding. So I've always got a soft spot for the bootstrappers, who I don't think get celebrated anywhere near enough. And so, congratulations on actually being able to do that. It's not easy. And the tips there on the Indiegogo is really interesting as well. So it sounds like it can be crowdfunding can be a great way to go, but it has some gotchas along the way, which people need to be aware of. Amy, what do you think's next for you guys? Have you thought about, export, New Zealand or the US or anything like that, or some B2B, or what do you guys think's next?
Yeah, I wish I could answer that with a lot of confidence. No, we're really clear on our brand positioning. So we just did a new piece, mainly because while we were the first to enter, we knew there were going to be a lot of fast followers, and there have been. Our strategy is very different, and that was deliberate, and I'm glad to see that that's played out. So most have entered being sort of low price, high volume strategy, whereas we took the differentiated value-based pricing strategy. So that sets us up to be able to kind of play in a different area, be a bit more niche, which we're doing. We export to New Zealand already, but definitely keen on international markets. We've trademarked Pleasant State in 8 jurisdictions globally, the name. So we're definitely geared to that. For us, we have challenges around just the manufacturing because the product is activated by water. So you have to control for humidity and water. Also, its shelf life is dictated by the home compostable wrap. So you've got about a 12-month shelf life. So if we ship that from Australia, by the time it lands overseas, you've lost quite a bit of the shelf life. So I'm kind of considering models where we set up regional manufacturing hubs. So yes, global is definitely on the agenda. I'm keen, if we can, to try to sort of remain direct to consumer, so we can really control that brand narrative, the customer relationships. And I do think that will require a global strategy, mainly because the Australian market is quite small. But we get a lot of interest in terms of gifting, so because our products are really beautiful and unique, and we have a really nice story behind it. Our customers purchase our product and they gift it to other people. We have big business that do corporate gifting or Christmas gifting. So there's a really good market for us there, because thankfully those customers come back to us at the end of the day for refills.
Yeah, and I'm reading some of these reviews. I always like to read reviews to pick up on any words that stand out. And what's interesting is some of the words that are coming through are how good the product looks. So well done on the branding side. Like, I've never thought I'd read that for. They genuinely do look really beautifully presented, so I could see why people would buy them as gifts. So it's outstanding. And do you think, where does it stop? How many products do you end up seeing? Are you just going to sort of hone in on the I noticed the name Pleasant State is geared towards, it could be everything. Where does it end for you guys, you reckon?
Yes, yeah, we kept the name. I guess the name is really about this idea that we're all living in the present state, working towards a more pleasant state, whether that's in your home or the environment, and making sure that that's a really lovely place. So our positioning strategy is now that we create ethical products that make home care a form of self-care. So really going down that home care path, because there's lots of research demonstrating that there's a lot of mental and health benefits of having a really orderly, clean, healthy home environment. So you're right, there's actually a lot of opportunities for us in terms of product extensions and collaborations, which we're really excited about.
What stands out for me as well I'm really obsessing about the product page because there's so much happening on it. There's so many strong points to this, and the gifting is any business that can get into gifting has an advantage, because you've also got the when you're building out your database, you've got the buyer and the recipient, and if you can be clever with that, you can grow the database quite quickly. But your packaging is absolutely really beautiful, and I just think a lot of brands don't show the packaging off enough, and yours is fantastic. The level of effort that you guys have put into the you got 7 or 8 product photos, I think, which is again outstanding. You're really showing off the brand, so I think it's so great what you guys are doing. We've probably gone on for longer than I thought that I should, but it's a really interesting business and I think you've just nailed it, Amy. I think that the timing's right. I think you've done cleaning products in a way that's really, great for the environment, but also looks good. I don't know how you've done that. I'm reading one here about the scent, like someone's rated the scent of the product. So you've somehow tapped into the senses. Which I guess is going back to why you started with the headaches and so on. And I'll certainly be showing my wife afterwards, because she's on that path to try and do the same. She's been trying to make her own cleaning products to eliminate toxins and live that sort of life. So I think she'd be really interested in this. But Amy, I just wanted to really thank you for your time today and joining myself on the Wayflyer Founder Series. And for anybody listening, keep an eye on Pleasant State. Give it a go. I know I will be. And Amy, thanks again for your time.
Thanks, Paul.
That was great.
Thank you.
I really got into that. Like I was just browsing your site, and I'm starting to think like, okay, what they could do. You've got so many strong features, like like your 10-day money, even the non-product stuff, the free shipping. Is that like free shipping on everything or?
Over $50. I'm going to raise that once we launch our 2 new SKUs. So we've got a foaming hand wash and a dishwash detergent, which we're shipping out in a month's time. I'm going to increase the shipping to $70.
Yeah, if you maybe try and put it around the average order value. But a good tip, Amy, is to look at your average order value. Let's say your average order value is 70. Then try and look at you. Some people go like this. Some people say, okay, I'll make the free shipping at 70, and then but you're already. So that means you're trying to lift the whole group above what they're already spending. Sometimes what you could try and do is break up the spend buckets into $10. So let's say how many people shop at 70, how many shop at 60, how many shop at 50. And let's say the next biggest group outside of 70 is at 60. Then you would try and get that group up to the next threshold, and you would put the free shipping at 70. Or let's say that outside of $70, the majority is shopping at 40, then putting at 50 is logical because you're trying to get the 40s to 50, and it will make a difference. But it often ends up around your AOV. Where you're free shipping with.
We just we're just trialing Retention X, which is another tool just so that we can like really look at customer segments. I think they had a tool which actually looks at where you should set your free shipping price at, and it was right at it was at the $70, which is a bit higher than the current average order value. But I'm expecting the AOV should go up when we launch these new products, because we'll have a kit that's $129.90 amongst some other things. My issue now is the subscribers. Because they're kind of on a set price around the $50 mark. So I need to kind of get them adding extra stuff on so that they still qualify for that. Or I just set that a bit lower for the subscribers.
Yeah, I get it. If you find that you set it above the AOV and it doesn't work, sometimes it does and the AOV jumps, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe consider just dropping it to the AOV, which will still lift the AOV because you'll have more of the $50, $60 spenders trying to reach free shipping. Yeah. But the other thing I noticed is if you target that sort of stuff, what you could do is do the upsell in the add to cart. So I noticed the cloth, and what you could do is simply like add you're $9 away from free shipping, add the cloth and that sort of stuff.
Is there a good app that you recommend for that?
Yeah, I think it's actually called Add to Cart, believe it or not. They do the cross sell as well. So they would power your product recommendations, which you've got. Your related products field, so it also powers that, and I believe it also powers, not that you would necessarily need this with so few SKUs, but maybe still it powers your search bar.
Yeah. Okay.
Which you don't have, but you don't have many products, so maybe usually people who use the search bar convert much higher than those that don't. But you also don't have lots of product. However, it doesn't do any harm in putting the search bar on.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the free tips.
The other one, last one. The other one that I think you could use, which I can't see, and correct me if I'm missing it, is a wish list.
Yeah, we don't have a wish list, no.
It almost always works. And even if like you don't think people would use it, there would be no harm in putting it on. So that's the only other.
Is this covered in your books?
Yeah, more or less. Like, yeah, the Shopify one's really a very technical guide on like do this in Shopify, do that, create a product. My Selling Online one is coming out later this year. That's more about my thoughts on e-commerce strategies and so on.
Yeah.
I enjoy that one more because there's no wrong answers, whereas in the Shopify one, you can actually get it wrong. Like, oops, the button, and Shopify moves so fast that they would move buttons and stuff, and that was hard.
That's painful. Yeah. Okay, awesome. No, that's really helpful. Yes, we're trying to become more expert at e-commerce.
Oh, it looks
I've,
great.
I've been laughing and just thinking, we've been doing this for 2.5 years. Like, really haven't spent enough time becoming.
No, you're doing great. You could probably tidy up product page a bit with the reviews and stuff, and maybe put some of those features like the money back, cruelty free. Maybe instead of the words, you could use the trust badges. And there's a good app for that as well, which I'll find for you. But you see how you've got the trust badges on the homepage? That's really nice. They tend to, running A/B tests using those on product page usually works. I don't think it's a game changer, but again, it also looks quite nice on product page.
Yeah.
Maybe your emails and stuff.
I think our bounce rate, when I was comparing to the industry standards, is quite high.
What is it?
I can't remember. Sorry. We were having really high conversion rates. So last year it sat at 3.8%.
Very good. Very good.
But the bounce rate was definitely I think we're up around 60, 70%.
Yeah, that's high, but the average is about 50, 40, 45 to 50. So if that's high, yeah, you could probably do a UX project on the site, but as well, those things are 1 and 2%ers. So you got to rate the impact and effort, because they might not be worth the effort now, but that conversion rate's great, Amy. And again, I think your challenge, it sounds like you'll have no problem acquiring customers, and your challenge will be, I assume you've got a pretty low AOV. So your challenge is LTV. So a low AOV business needs a high LTV. And the only time, so otherwise what you'll see is essentially without a high LTV, you'll see your marketing costs continue to be head over 15 to 20%, because you're constantly acquiring and you don't get any of the cheapies coming back, which is the retention.
Yeah.
And that's your challenge, will be to continually evolve the product. But you're in a depletable product, so you're in a great space, because I've run out, I need it again.
Yeah.
So your challenge will be to Klaviyo and staff learn when somebody needs a refill, basically, and get them the refill before they even know they need it.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you for all these tips.
No worries. Thank you for the interview. I love that. And I'll definitely keep an eye on it and show my wife as well.
Amazing. How fantastic.
Absolutely. Also subscribe to the newsletter, because as we say in the office, Blood and State's got probably the best email marketing that we see coming through. So we subscribe to every customer who sends stuff out, and we're constantly blown away by what Amy puts together and sends on a regular basis.
That's definitely Sean and our graphic designer, but thank you.
I can imagine it's really good. I mean, all the graphics and stuff, all the creative is excellent. The social feed's great. I've signed up. There you go.
I need to spend more time with people in the e-com space, less time with VCs. I get off the calls with them thinking, we've built something real shit. We're not going to make it. They make you feel so terrible.
I've been there many times, selling businesses, auditing businesses for VC. It's a shit. And most of the time they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know e-commerce. They don't know your product, but their advice is off the mark, and it's I just made a call. I'm like, we're not going down this path. I've been anti-VC for a long time, but I was hopeful that maybe those in the impact space, impact VCs, would be better. It's not true. They're just doing it from a marketing perspective. I've seen them as well, and they're just, in my experience anyway, I think at one point we talked to Twiggy Forrest one, and it was just you're not really interested. So
no, they don't get brand, they don't get product. I can't believe how many people don't understand brand.
Yeah, it's a really hard thing. In what I see is to combine the two. I like to hear that I always say to my brand clients, I work with a lot of fashion businesses and stuff, and I always say, okay, and then notoriously chaotic. I was talking to Budgie Smuggler last week, and they're just amazing brand. They just, they're. But I'm like, okay, you need to be as good a business as you are a brand. And then it goes the other way as well. You've got the business ones who are just pumping money into paid media and looking at the algorithm. And then to them, I'm saying, go back to what you dreamt of when you started. Did you go to sleep thinking about ROAS, or did you go to sleep thinking about how your product will change the world? And it's just finding that common middle ground.
Yeah, you can, because you can get so distracted. Yeah, I just found with the VC stuff, all it did was make us like obsess about growing so that we would hit these targets. Then we were unprofitable. We were forgetting about brand. And so I came in on Monday. I'm like, that's it. We're not doing this. Like, we've got to go back to average. We cut out a whole lot of cost, which I think we need to do to kind of get through this period. I'm like, focus on brand. We even turned off our Facebook conversion ads. We've like had so many problems with that, but just making that call to like end it was like, you know, has been a long journey. So
well, that's great. I love the fact that you're trying things, like try and turn it off. But anyway, so one of my other jobs is I own a marketing agency called Ecom Nation, and the director there is Mal Chia, and Mal was involved with Aerobe. He was involved with a lot of businesses in this space. So if you ever need someone to look at your marketing, Mal is and he's particularly passionate in this sustainable space. So we've got some good expertise there. So if you ever need anyone,
lovely to meet you.
Yeah, likewise, Amy. Congrats on everything you've done so far.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan.
Thanks for coming on, Amy, and thank you, Paul, for running another one of these sessions.
My pleasure.
Okay,
all right.
bye.
Guys, bye.